Hi, this is Guy Wallace. I started in learning and development way back in 1979, and I semi-retired in 2023. But my current mission as a semi-retired L&D professional is to help enterprise learning and development organizations become more performance-based. Welcome to my podcast. This bonus Pursuing Performance podcast episode, done not on the every Friday cycle that I'm starting, is a summary by Google's Notebook LM podcasting capabilities of 4 of my YouTube videos focused on performance analysis for use beyond, but including, instruction. An approach that I have evolved from what I first learned back in 1979 when I was told I was learning a derivative of the approach of some guy named Gary Rumler. You can see those links to those 4 YouTube videos in the show notes. I've been experimenting with Notebook LM podcasting and its capabilities quite a bit lately. I listened to what it produced this time and was pretty satisfied with what it produced. The next 20-some minutes boils down several hours of YouTube videos. So in that way, it might be very helpful to you, although what's missing are the tools and templates that are shown in the videos. Those 4 YouTube videos are titled 99 Seconds on Performance Modeling, Performance and Gap Analysis, Analysis of Performance and its Knowledge and Skill Enablers, Guy presenting on performance improvement, beyond but including instruction. So now let's listen in on the 2 deep dive masters of Notebook LM podcasting.
Ever wished you could hop in a time machine and see how things USD to be done, like way back when?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing today. Diving deep into workplace performance, but with a twist. Our source material from a YouTube channel actually called Pursuing Performance.
Okay.
And it's kind of like stepping back into a 1970s corporate training session.
Wow.
Think shoulder pads and bell bottoms.
Right.
But with some surprisingly relevant insights, I think, about boosting performance.
That's cool. What's so fascinating to me is that these videos, while a bit vintage, offer a framework that really still holds up today. We're talking about foundational principles that go beyond those trendy productivity hacks you see everywhere.
Totally. We have transcripts from 3 videos to kind of go through analysis of performance and its knowledge and skills enablers, Guy presenting on performance improvement beyond, but including instruction, and performance and gap analysis. So whether you are prepping for a big meeting or are just curious about the history of corporate training or just love a good aha moment, buckle up.
All right.
So one of the core ideas I noticed that pops up again and again is that performance boils down to producing outputs that meet stakeholder requirements. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's not just about doing stuff. It's about achieving those measurable results that actually matter to your customers, to your boss, or even those pesky regulations.
Yes.
So you've probably heard that saying, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
But this method really drills down into what smarter means. Achieving the specific outputs your stakeholders actually need, not just being busy,
Right. It's like if your job is loading 50-pound bags onto a truck and you just physically can't handle an 8-hour shift.
Right.
No amount of training on how to lift is going to solve that problem. You're just not the right fit for that role.
Yeah, and that brings us to another critical point, the importance of identifying and understanding your master performers. Oh. These aren't just your top quota crushers. They're the folks who really understand the nuances of the job.
Right.
The potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
And the clever workarounds that others might have missed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm already picturing that one colleague we all have who just seems to effortlessly navigate every project while the rest of us are scrambling.
Totally.
What is their secret?
Yeah, in my experience, these master performers, they often have a deep understanding of WHY others struggle. They've been there, done that, and figured out how to not only survive, but thrive.
I love that. So now, to really analyze a job and its challenges, our expert introduces a visual tool you might already be familiar with, the Ishikawa diagram.
Oh, yeah.
You know the one that looks like a fish skeleton?
The fishbone diagram.
Ah, yes. The classic fishbone diagram. I remember those from my college days. But he doesn't just use it in like the typical way, right?
Right. Instead of listing causes along the bones, he uses categories like environmental enablers and human enablers.
Okay. I like it.
Things like tools, data, workplace culture, and of course the knowledge, skills, and attributes of the people doing the job. It's a really cool way to visually break down a process and pinpoint those potential problem areas.
It's like a detective's evidence board for performance issues.
Yes.
And speaking of getting detailed, the expert also uses something called a performance model. It's like a superpowered spreadsheet for capturing all the essential information about a job.
Exactly. But instead of numbers, it's packed with details about outputs, measures, tasks, roles, and really importantly, performance gaps and their causes.
Okay.
You're not just saying, oh, people are struggling with this task.
Yeah.
You're drilling down to identify like the precise measures that aren't being met and the potential reasons WHY.
Now, you might be thinking, isn't training always the answer?
Huh.
Well, according to our expert, not so fast. One of the most surprising takeaways from these videos is that training might not always be the solution. By carefully analyzing performance gaps using this model, you can discover whether the problem lies in faulty processes, inadequate tools, or even a mismatch in individual attributes and the job demands.
And that's where he introduces a concept he calls the LD pivot point.
The LD pivot point. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think of it as that crucial decision point where you determine whether to proceed with developing training materials or pivot to address other non-training related issues.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me they almost spent $700,000 on training that wasn't even the issue?
Yep.
Okay, I need to hear more about this LD pivot point.
Yeah, it can be a tough call to like pivot away from training, especially when you have all this pressure to deliver results quickly.
I bet.
But that $700,000 example just shows how important it is to get that diagnosis right before prescribing the solution, you know?
Absolutely. That's such a good point. So speaking of knowing the right stuff, that brings us to like how the expert actually breaks down knowledge versus skill.
Right.
He uses this super cool matrix.
Right. He dives into this difference between knowledge and skills, which is like super relevant when designing training. Knowledge is all about understanding those concepts and information, while skill is about applying that knowledge in a practical setting.
Gotcha.
Think of it like this, knowing the different types of coffee beans.
Okay.
That's knowledge.
Okay.
But being able to grind those beans to the right consistency and pull a perfect espresso shot, that's skill.
So like you could read every book about riding a bike, but until you actually get on and try to balance, you won't develop the skill.
Exactly. And training for each is different.
Okay.
For knowledge gaps, lectures, readings, or like those online tutorials might do the trick.
Right.
But for skill gaps, you need that hands-on practice, feedback, and coaching.
Yeah.
You can't just read about it. You have to do it.
Makes total sense. Yeah. So how does this expert apply this to like performance analysis?
He uses what he calls a knowledge and skill matrix.
Okay.
It's like a blueprint for training a way to systematically identify and categorize the knowledge and skills required for that specific job role. You're making sure you cover all the bases, not just those easy-to-teach knowledge components.
Okay, so walk me through this. What does this matrix actually look like?
Picture a grid where each row represents a specific knowledge or skill required for the job.
Okay.
And the columns represent different aspects of that knowledge or skill, like its criticality, difficulty, volatility, and even the depth of training needed. It gets really granular.
Wow. It sounds like he's taking a very scientific approach to like training design.
He absolutely is. And that's what makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
It removes the guesswork, ensuring that you're focusing on those elements that will have the greatest impact on performance.
Right.
You're using a laser to target the areas that truly matter.
I love how he brings this all together. He's not just throwing ideas around. He's providing a concrete system for analyzing performance and making those decisions about training.
Right. And remember those LD pivot points we talked about? He brings those into the mix here too.
Right.
If the analysis reveals that training isn't actually necessary, you pivot. He really emphasizes being honest with clients about the findings, even if it means saying, hey, you don't need training, you need to fix this broken process.
So in a way, he's advocating for a more consultant-like role for training professionals, right?
Exactly.
It's about understanding the client's needs, providing that expert analysis, and recommending the most effective course of action, even if it's not what they initially expected.
Exactly. You're not just an order taker, you're a trusted advisor.
Right.
And sometimes that means pushing back a little.
Yeah, it can be kind of tricky to navigate those situations where clients are resistant to the findings.
Well,
what does he suggest doing in those cases?
He has a great phrase for it.
Okay.
Saluting and doing it.
Okay.
Basically acknowledge their request, explain your concerns, but ultimately commit to doing your best within the constraints they've set.
Right.
It's like saying, yes, sir, I'll take that hill, but I'm letting you know it's heavily defended.
That's a good one. That makes a lot of sense. It's about managing those expectations.
Right.
Building trust.
Yeah.
And demonstrating your expertise.
Exactly.
And hopefully, once they see the results, they'll be more open to like a more thorough analysis next time.
It's like leading that horse to water.
Yeah.
You can't force it to drink, but you can make the water look pretty darn appealing.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the what of performance analysis.
Right.
But what about the HOW? Like, how do you actually go about uncovering those hidden factors that are driving performance?
Yeah, this is where it gets really cool.
Right.
He talks about eliciting both explicit and tacit knowledge.
Okay, for those of us who haven't taken a deep dive into knowledge management, can you unpack those terms for us?
Absolutely. Explicit knowledge is the kind of stuff we can easily articulate and write down, like the steps in a procedure or the rules of a game.
Yeah.
It's like a recipe book.
Yeah.
Clear, concise instructions anyone can follow.
So it's the official knowledge, the stuff that's documented and easily shared.
Exactly. But then there's tacit knowledge,
Right.
which is much more subtle and harder to capture.
Right.
It's the kind of knowledge we gain through experience, intuition, and observation.
Yeah.
Think of it like a master chef's instinct, like years of experience that you can't just write down in a recipe.
Right.
It's almost unconscious, like knowing when a sauce is perfectly emulsified just by looking at it.
Or how an experienced surgeon can anticipate complications before they even rise.
Exactly. And the expert argues that this tacit knowledge is often the key to unlocking those hidden performance gaps.
Yeah.
Remember our master performers?
Yeah.
They're often overflowing with tacit knowledge, which explains why they can often pinpoint exactly why others struggle.
Right.
They've encountered those same struggles themselves and figured out how to overcome them.
So it's like tapping into this hidden well of wisdom.
Yeah.
How do you actually go about doing that? Like, how do you get people to share that tacit knowledge?
It's like being a detective.
Oh, I like that.
The expert suggests using a variety of techniques, like asking carefully crafted interview questions, facilitating group discussions, and even observing those master performers in action.
It's like an anthropologist studying the rituals and practices of a high-performing tribe.
Exactly. You're trying to uncover the underlying knowledge that drives their success.
Yeah.
It's about seeing the work through their eyes,
Right.
understanding their thought processes,
Yeah.
and capturing those hidden gems of wisdom.
This reminds me of the book Moneyball, where the Oakland A's used data analysis to identify those undervalued baseball players.
Right.
It was about seeing the game in a new way and uncovering that hidden talent that traditional scouts had missed.
It's a great analogy. And just like Moneyball challenged conventional baseball wisdom, this performance analysis approach challenges traditional notions of training and development.
Okay.
It's about shifting from a focus on delivering information to a focus on understanding and enabling performance in its entirety.
So it's bigger than just knowledge transfer.
Exactly. And that includes understanding the environment in which individuals operate.
Right. It's not just about individual capabilities. It's also about the system that they're operating within.
Exactly. He constantly emphasizes the importance of analyzing the environmental factors that contribute to performance gaps.
Okay.
He encourages analysts to look beyond the individual and consider factors like tools, data, processes, and even organizational culture.
Gotcha.
He even has a great phrase for it: give the humans a break.
Oh, I love that.
Sometimes the problem isn't the person, it's the system they're operating within.
Right. It's easy to point the finger at the individual.
Yeah.
But like you said, sometimes it's the tools they have or the information or even the culture.
He provides a framework for analyzing these environmental enablers using categories like data and information, materials and supplies, tools and equipment, facilities and grounds, and even culture and consequences.
So it's about understanding how these factors can either support or hinder performance, and then identifying areas for improvement. Like, if salespeople are struggling to access like up-to-date customer data, that's an environmental gap that needs to be addressed.
Right.
No amount of sales training will compensate for a lack of accurate and timely information.
It's like trying to navigate a maze in the dark.
Yeah.
You need a flashlight, or in this case, accurate data, to find your way.
Love that analogy.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the impact of organizational culture.
Yes.
That can be such a powerful force, either driving performance or holding it back.
He makes a great point about this. A culture that doesn't support performance improvement efforts can sabotage even the best designed training program.
Right.
It's like planting a seed in barren soil.
Yeah.
No matter how good the seed is, it won't grow without the right nutrients and conditions.
So it's about understanding the cultural landscape and addressing any potential barriers to performance.
Exactly.
What does he say are like some of the biggest barriers?
One of the biggest barriers he identifies is a lack of consequences for poor performance. If there are no consequences for not meeting expectations, why would anyone bother to improve?
Right. It's like a game without rules or referees.
Exactly. He argues that a strong performance culture requires clear expectations, consistent feedback, and appropriate consequences for both positive and negative performance.
Okay.
It's about creating an environment where excellence is rewarded and mediocrity is addressed.
Yeah.
And this is where leadership comes into play.
Right. Leaders play a critical role in shaping the culture and setting that tone.
He suggests that leaders should be actively involved in the performance analysis process, providing insights, supporting improvement efforts, and championing a culture of accountability.
Yeah.
They're the conductors of the orchestra, ensuring that all the instruments are playing in harmony.
Okay, so we've talked about analyzing individuals, the environment, and the role of leadership.
Right.
What else does he emphasize in his approach?
He challenges analysts to go beyond simply identifying gaps in environmental enablers. He wants them to figure out who owns the responsibility for addressing those gaps.
That makes sense. It's not enough to just like point out the problem. You need to identify the person or department who can actually fix it.
Exactly. He provides a helpful framework for doing this, prompting analysts to ask questions like, who provides the data? Who maintains the equipment? Who designs the processes? And even who sets the cultural tone?
It's like creating a chain of accountability, ensuring that each link in the chain is strong and functioning properly.
Right. And by identifying these owners, you can start to build a roadmap for addressing the root causes of performance gaps and creating a more supportive environment for success.
This approach really highlights like the interconnectedness of performance.
Yeah.
It's not just about individuals working in isolation. It's about the entire ecosystem that surrounds and influences their work.
He emphasizes that this analysis should go beyond the traditional boundaries of training and development. It should involve collaboration with other departments and stakeholders like IT, HR, operations, and even senior leadership.
Right.
Remember those fishbone diagrams? They can be really valuable here because they provide a visual representation of all the interconnected factors that contribute to performance, allowing everyone to see the big picture and understand their role in the solution.
It's like creating a shared mental model, fostering that alignment and collaboration across the organization.
And ultimately, that's what this performance analysis approach is all about.
Yeah.
It's about empowering individuals, optimizing processes, and cultivating a culture where everyone is striving for excellence.
I love it.
It's about moving beyond the quick fix of training and embracing a more comprehensive and sustainable approach to achieving lasting results.
It sounds like he's advocating for a pretty radical shift in how we think about performance improvement.
He definitely is. And it's a shift that's long overdue. Now, before we wrap up, there's one more element of his approach that I think is worth exploring. His focus on understanding individual attributes and how they can influence performance.
Okay, so it's not just about what people know or the tools they have. It's also about who they are and how they approach their work. So it's acknowledging that like everyone brings different things to the table. You know, strengths, weaknesses, personalities, values, all of that.
And this is where it gets interesting. Remember that performance model we were talking about?
Yeah.
It doesn't just focus on what people know or the tools they have. It also looks at who they are and how they approach their work.
Okay.
You can think of it as Give the Humans a Break, Part 2.
I like it.
It uses a framework that includes physical, psychological, intellectual, and even like personal values as factors that can contribute to performance gaps.
Okay, break those down for me. I get physical attributes, strength, dexterity, stamina. Those are pretty obvious, especially with that 50-pound bag example we talked about.
Yeah.
But what about the rest?
Psychological attributes are more about personality traits and those cognitive styles. Think things like risk tolerance, attention to detail, or the ability to handle stress. Some people thrive under pressure while others just crumble.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And intellectual attributes, would that be things like problem-solving skills, analytical ability, and how quickly someone can like learn new things.
Exactly. And then you have those personal values. If someone's values clash with the expectations of the job, that's a recipe for frustration. Like, imagine someone who values creativity and independence being stuck in a rigid, rule-bound job. It's just not a good fit.
Yeah, you can't train someone to be someone they're not, right?
Yeah.
So how do you address those kinds of mismatches?
That's where those LD pivot points come in again. Sometimes training isn't the answer. Maybe it's coaching, mentoring, or even a change in job responsibilities. It's about finding the best solution for the individual and the organization. But to do that, you have to understand how they think.
This is where he talks about thought flow, right? Those hidden thought processes that drive our behavior. But isn't that kind of like trying to read someone's mind?
It can be challenging, but he offers some really insightful techniques. It's a combination of careful questioning, observation, and even role-playing exercises to help people articulate what's often unconscious thinking.
It sounds like he's trying to get people to think about their thinking, to become more aware of their own mental processes, which is kind of meta.
That's a great way to put it. He talks about the importance of asking why questions to get to the root of a decision or an action. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion to get to that center part.
And what about observation? What's he looking for when he's watching people work?
He's paying close attention to those master performers, right? But not just what they do. It's about how they approach a task, the decisions they make, the things they might do differently than someone who's struggling.
Oh, so it's like trying to figure out the secret strategy of a chess grandmaster.
Exactly. And then there's role-playing. It's a really powerful way to simulate those real-world situations and see how people respond under pressure. It's like a dress rehearsal for performance, you know?
Yeah.
People get to practice their skills and get feedback in a safe environment.
So he's really advocating for a deep understanding of the individual, not just their knowledge and skills, but their personality, values, and even those thought processes. It's a lot to consider.
It is. He's basically saying that we need to consider all the factors that influence behavior, not just the obvious ones. But, and this is important, he also acknowledges that there are limitations to analysis. We're never going to have a perfect understanding of every single factor that influences performance.
That's a really good point. Sometimes you just have to take action and see what happens, right?
Exactly. He cautions against falling into the trap of analysis paralysis. You can get so caught up in analyzing that you never actually do anything. It's like that saying about planning a trip forever but never actually leaving the house.
So it's about finding that balance. Planning and action, analysis and execution.
And that's where the real art of performance improvement lies. It's not just a science, it's a craft. It needs analytical skills, human understanding, and a willingness to just roll with it when things don't go according to plan.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of performance analysis, what are some key takeaways our listeners can apply in their own work?
The biggest takeaway is to shift our thinking from training first to analyze first, then decide. Performance improvement is complicated. It requires a detective's mindset, not just a quick fix.
Be curious, ask questions, and don't be afraid to challenge your assumptions, including the assumption that training is always the answer.
Another takeaway is to tap into the wisdom of those master performers. They're a goldmine of insights. They're like those wise mentors you see in movies, you know, the ones who always seem to know exactly what to say.
Absolutely. And finally, remember that performance improvement is a team sport. It takes collaboration, communication, and a shared commitment to excellence.
So to all of our listeners out there, think about a performance challenge you're facing right now. What if you put on your detective hat and applied this approach? Where would you start? Who are your master performers? And what are the environmental factors that might be holding people back?
It's time to start unlocking that performance potential. We'd love to hear about your own performance detective work in the comments below.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep pursuing performance.
I hope this has been valuable for your practice. Please remember, adopt what you can and adapt or even reject the rest. Thank you.